Are you feeling bored in early sobriety? Because if you are, that's pretty normal. There is an in-between time, somewhere between no longer in your drinking life and not yet, which is your full life, the one you love without alcohol in it. And here's what you need to remember. The truth is that you might feel bored. What you're going through is normal. It happens to everyone, and that's okay. The truth is that not drinking right now is your entire job. So if all you're doing right now, if you're not being productive, if you're not going to parties, if you're taking a lot of naps and baths and reading books and need alone time, you are crushing this early sobriety thing. You need to know that even if you're feeling blah or flat or bored, what you're doing right now is really important, that it won't last forever, and that it is not easy. It may feel like all you're doing is reading a book, watching TV, making tea, going to bed, but that's actually not what you're doing. You are doing hard emotional and physical work every single minute and every day. You are navigating your entire life without alcohol. You are getting up and getting dressed without a hangover. You are working and dealing with your boss and your coworkers without thinking about if you have enough wine at home at the end of the day. You're sidestepping offers for office happy hours or Zoom happy hours and looking away from a friend's post on social media about a date night with the big wine glass at the bar or pictures of the bottle of wine on their kitchen table or their deck when they're staying home. You're dealing with all the emotions that are coming up that you would push down so far for so long when you were drinking. You're dealing with kids and homework and bedtimes and late night emails and marriage without alcohol. Your relationships are strained, either because you're irritable, which is so normal, or because your spouse is adjusting to navigating you without drinking, or because they're still drinking and that's triggering for you and that's hard. And you're figuring out if you want to engage with people, who you should talk to, whether you should go to the barbecue or a football party, what to do if non-alcoholic drinks aren't there, or if you want to bring your own, and if you're going to drive your own car, and what a sober treat might look like at the end of the night. You are doing big, big stuff, really important work. And who knows why, but after the initial white knuckling wears off, it can be a bit blah. If you dive into all the sober things, after 45 days, after 50 days, you might feel like, you know what, you're over this sober stuff. You don't want to read and talk about it anymore. And that too is normal. You can read a novel that is not about sobriety. You can pick up a new project. You can dive into photography. And I'm going to talk about all those ideas later in this episode. But we are not used to being bored. And we usually drink at the first hint of being bored. If you have kids, you know that your kids always say, I'm bored, there's nothing to do. And it's usually after they've been watching the iPad for way too long and you took it away. And you say to them, there's a whole world outside. Go on the trampoline. Let's ride your bike. Why don't you read a book? Why don't you play with something? And they're like, no, that's boring. But you know what? And you're so frustrated because you're like, it's not boring. What you're doing right now is boring. I can't believe that you're just obsessed with this electronic device. And the minute I take it away, you are irritable and annoyed and frankly, a pain in the ass. And that's what it's like when we take away our wine, right? We're like, there's nothing to do if we're not drinking. There's nothing exciting there anymore. I'm whiny, I'm irritable, I'm bored, I don't know what to do. Nothing you suggest sounds good or as good as my wine. And we do. We drink because we're bored. That is how we're used to changing our mood. And part of the important work is to actually sit with feeling blah for a little while and to actually be forced to think about things other than drinking that might possibly amuse you, might bring you joy or occupy your time.